here's Alex, and this is the second part of a multi-video series on how to install Siebel CRM containers on Podman using a database as a container and using Windows Subsystem for Linux, because those containers from Oracle are running on Linux. And what we have so far, and if you haven't watched it, then make sure to watch the first video where we set up the infrastructure. We set up the Windows server with Windows Subsystem for Linux version 2, and we install Podman and Podman Desktop, and we have successfully pulled and run an Oracle 19c Enterprise database container. So you can see that right here, in the terminal, still connected to a shell here. And that is what we have. And what do we want to achieve in the next few minutes is to, drop a database. That's the wrong terminology, but it's a terminology Oracle chose to use, not me. Drop a sample database into that pluggable container database that we have running here. And Oracle tells us what to do, and we will just reenact those steps. So to know what to do next, basically we go back to that configuring Siebel repository of the Oracle Siebel team, which is built to actually build your own containers, or is actually also used to run Siebel containers, but in a specific manner. So we are outside of that specific manner. We're not using Docker, we're using Podman, so we couldn't use these scripts right off the bat. And we also do things differently. We run on Windows in Podman, in WSL. So we are loosely following this case study to get a similar environment up and running. And that database drop is described in Bookshelf, and here's the drop db script that's used. So basically you run a container, and that container is passed here, so we don't know which container yet, but it's a container that's downloaded from Oracle support. And we run that container, and we pass environment variables. So that container will connect to an existing database using a connect string. We can see that here. And it will mount a volume, which we can see here, which is the local volume. So in our case, it will be a Windows folder. And it will attach to, the Oracle CDB on the database, and it will actually extract the pluggable database files and create a service. So that is what happens when you use those scripts from Oracle as documented in the Bookshelf. Let's briefly pay a visit to Bookshelf, shall we? So here we are. 25.1 is the current release at the time of this recording, so make sure you use the correct release. And we go to the deployment guide, deploying Siebel CRM containers. That is what we do, but that guide applies not in full to what we do exactly. So we're just loosely following it here. So there's the setting up the Siebel containers and setting up the Oracle database. Basically, we have done this step almost exactly to the Bookshelf guide, unknowingly. That's the only way to really do it. And you import the Siebel containers. So that means we need to download the Siebel containers right now from Oracle support. I will do that in a moment. So they end up after extracting with 2 files. You load as images. And we create the persistence volumes. And in the configuration section, there's loading the sample database. So that's the step I want to do now. So basically, it's all about the drop db19 script. It needs to be set up correctly. And then you, run that script and that's the input. That's basically the container image you download from Oracle that contains the files and the scripts necessary to drop that database. So a drop database is very ambiguous. You're not dropping a database, you're in removing it. You're actually dropping it into a predefined container database, right? So that's what the drop is all about. You're dropping it into something and it will be there after that drop. So I went to Oracle Support, logged in with my partner account, and I downloaded these images. So actually those are for the Windows-based installation. So remember, I want to be able to run Siebel tools and do other things. So that's the Windows. And that Linux image that I downloaded, that zip archive, is actually where the Siebel containers are for Siebel 25.1 and the sample database container is. So that's one single download currently at the time of recording. And let's just extract that. And we will end up with well, two fairly large tar archives. Well, checksum is there provided as well, but there's the deploy database 19C. That's the sample database image that you use to drop the sample database. And that's the Siebel 25.1 container. So both of these images we will actually use. So we have to load them into our container management tool. And in my case, that's Podman. So I can go to images, can click load, and I can add both of them probably. Okay, yeah, so I added both of them and I just load them in one go, and that load command can be done on command line, of course, and that will just extract the necessary blobs into the image, so it will appear as an image in your container management system. And well, that is a task that will take a substantial amount of time, so I'll pause the recording and come back when it's finished. All right, so yeah, the loading process for the images that we just downloaded from Oracle has finished successfully. So we see two fresh images, one just called Siebel, so that's the one we use later to create the Siebel containers, version 25.1, the latest at the time of recording. And we have that sample container, and that of course is the one we want to use and run right now to, well, drop that database into the container database. So I've created a podman run command. RM means, well, remove the container after running it. We no longer need it. So that's not the sample database engine, or that's not an Oracle database. It's just the images being literally in it and being extracted. Or sorry, not the images, the database files, the pluggable database. So we use the same network, making sure. The dbcon connection, I ended up using system. The Oracle GitHub file uses sys. That's the password. And I ended up using @ with the TNS connect string here. So the full description. I have to verify that host IP address yet. So that's, of course, assigned to the container, to the Oracle database container. And it should connect to that ORCL PDB1 service. And then, well, do the thing. So we see the ORLCDB folder on our local disk is mounted to the database directory. In the container, there's an attach path, which is inside the database container. So, and there's the reference to our, well, the sample image we just loaded. So let's verify that IP address. So I go to the, just follow me here. I go to the Oracle 19C running database container, go to a shell, and I do IP address. And there's the loopback, and there it is, 1089.02. That looks good. Just verifying. 1089.02. Yeah. So let's try fingers crossed here on that one. And there will be a glitch probably. There will be not, it will not complete, but we can then run commands to complete that. So here's the podman run command. And we can see that it's connected. So it does basically a test connection. It runs a script inside that container. And that script connects the database, see it's there and up and running. So gets the service names. You can see that on your screen. And now it starts actually extracting files that are inside this new container. And those files are extracted into into the persisted database folder. You see it's called sample. And it's the capture of the pluggable database that Oracle built when they built the sample database. Each sample database, like 25.1, has the exact data that you would expect from a 25.1 database. It has the 25.1 repository, as if you would upgrade to 25.1 or run all the repository upgrades to 25.1. It will have the seed data, the manifest data. So it will be a complete database, plus it will have sample data, sample accounts, sample products, sample vehicles, sample loyalty members, you name it. So we have just to wait for this to complete, and if it completes, if it really completes, it will actually register that sample files, the set of files, as a new service in the container database. That did not succeed when I tried it the first time, but let's just wait it out. So yeah, halfway there. So we are successful on the database extraction, which is just literally extracting files into a folder. And we have not been successful in this command here, create pluggable database. It says operation not allowed from within a pluggable database. Now, I'm not a DBA, so I can barely understand what this means. It means the pluggable database attached has failed, and so we have to just retry it using maybe a different settings. So fortunately enough, I've been able to find out how that works, so we'll just see it in a moment. Let's not worry about this too much, and let's go to the folder. And remember, we have a persistence folder on that Windows machine, and that has now a sample PDB, a pluggable database, which is a pluggable database is a set of database files and an XML file that describes it. Now, using that XML file, you see it's referenced here, we can start importing it. So that's what we'll try manually. Not sure why it doesn't work from within that container, but we can always do it manually, and we will be fine with a new database service. So how can we correct the issue that our container did not succeed in running? So one way is just to manually create a pluggable database using the commands available in the Oracle documentation. And that means we have that XML file, so we just need to use it to create the pluggable database and then make it ready and open it so it can be used. So let me just grab these commands. So I've used the terminal to get a shell into the Oracle database container. I've connected as the system user, and I'm going to run this command. Let's just see what happens. And it just runs fine now. I don't know why it doesn't run on the container-based image, but that probably went a-okay. So let's run the other commands. Okay, insufficient privileges. So I probably need to go in as the sys user. Again, I'm not a DBA, so forgive me for any inconveniences here. So go in. So now I'm logged in as the sys user, as sysdba, and that allows me to alter that pluggable database, open it for read and write. Now save the state. And commit the changes. Not sure if that commit is truly necessary, but we should now have a, well, sample database running from within that Oracle Enterprise database. And well, these are the steps to create your Siebel Sample Database in 2025 using containers. So welcome to the future. So in the next video, we will, well, now set up a Siebel Enterprise on top of that database, finally. So thank you for watching this one, and see you in the next one.